Listen to me. Success is not some trophy you put on a shelf. It's not a medal you wear once and forget about. Success is a grind. It's not something you own. It's something you rent, and the rent is due every single day. You think one victory means it's over. You think just because you showed up once, worked hard once, sacrificed once, that the world owes you something. No. Success doesn't care about what you did yesterday. It's about what you're willing to do today. Right now, when nobody's watching, when it's hard, when you feel tired, when your excuses start to sound like reasons, you gotta wake up hungry. You gotta wake up desperate. You gotta wake up like somebody's trying to take it from you, because they are. The moment you get comfortable, the moment you think you've made it, that's the moment you lose everything. So let me ask you, are you willing to pay the rent today? Success is not something you achieve once and hold on to forever. It's not a trophy gathering dust on a shelf, not a diploma framed on a wall, and not a title that stays relevant just because you earned it years ago. Success is a lease, a temporary condition. And that lease, it comes with a price tag, a cost. And that cost is daily effort, daily discipline, daily focus. The rent is due every single day, and there are no off days, no sick leaves, no "I'll do it tomorrow" clauses. You either pay the rent or you get evicted from the level you worked so hard to reach. That's the reality people don't want to hear. They want to believe that grinding for 6 months gives them peace for the rest of the year. They want to believe that working hard for a few years means they've made it. But success doesn't work like that. It's a living, breathing force that demands your attention, your commitment, and your energy every single day. It asks you, what you going to do today to keep what you've earned? What are you going to do today to stay sharp, stay hungry, stay ahead? And there are thousands of people who reached the top once and then disappeared. Why? Because they thought success was a destination. They thought once they made it, they could relax. They stopped paying the rent. They stopped doing the small things that built their foundation. The early mornings, the late nights, the sacrifices, the discipline. It all faded because they thought the journey was over. But the moment you stop doing the things that got you there, you start to slide. You start to sink. You get replaced by the person who's still hungry, who's still grinding. Their life depends on it. You want to know why champions stay champions? It's not because they're lucky. It's not because they're gifted. It's because they understand this truth. Success doesn't care what you did yesterday. It doesn't remember your highlight reel. It doesn't care about your awards, your resume, or your Instagram following. It only responds to what you're doing today, this hour, this moment. Every day is a battlefield. And every morning when you wake up, success is waiting at your door like a landlord, handout saying, "Time to pay." And if you're not ready, if you're not disciplined, not prepared, not focused, then you'll fall behind. Someone else is always out there training, building, learning, sacrificing more, hungrier than you. And they're ready to take your spot the second you stop paying your dues. The most dangerous moment in your journey is not when you're at the bottom. It's when you taste a little success. Because that's when your mind tells you to take it easy. That's when the voice creeps in saying, you deserve to rest. You deserve to coast. But success doesn't reward that voice. It punishes it. The moment you think you've earned the right to slow down is the moment someone hungrier catches up to you, and takes everything you've built. You have to develop a mindset that refuses to quit. A mindset that says, I will pay the rent today, no matter how I feel, no matter how tired I am, no matter what happened yesterday. Because it doesn't matter how talented you are if you're not consistent. It doesn't matter how good you were last year if you're not showing up this year. It doesn't matter how hard you worked last week if you're lazy today. The rent is due every single day, and it never comes with a discount. And let's be real, it's not just about work ethic. It's about your character. It's about who you are when nobody's watching. Are you still showing up when the applause stops? Are you still putting the reps when the cameras are off? That's what separates the elite from everyone else. That's what builds legends. Not one-time greatness, but relentless, ruthless consistency. You're not competing against anyone else. You're competing against your old self, against your excuses, against your comfort zone. You've got to wake up every day and say, today I will do what others won't. I will outwork my past. I will push when it's hard. I will pay the rent, and I will earn my place again. Because at the end of the day, success is not loyal. It doesn't owe you anything. You don't own it. You lease it. And the only way to keep it is to wake up and grind like you're still at the bottom, like you've got everything to prove. Because you do. Every single day. That's what it means to live with purpose. That's what it means to chase greatness. That's what it means to understand the truth. Success is never owned. It's rented, and rent is due every damn day. Comfort is the most dangerous place you can live in. It feels safe, it feels warm, it feels easy. But it's the very thing that kills growth, kills dreams, and kills potential. When you get comfortable, you stop push striving. You stop evolving. And the harsh truth is, if you're not growing, you're dying. If you're not moving forward, you're falling behind. That's the law of life. That's the rule of the game. People think the goal is to arrive at a place of comfort, to work hard enough, grind long enough, and finally sit back and relax. But let me tell you something, comfort is a trap. It seduces you into thinking you've done enough. It tricks you into believing the mountain you've climbed is high enough. But if you settle there, if you stop climbing, you'll never know how far you could have gone. Comfort will whisper in your ear and say, you deserve to rest now. When in reality, it's time to level up. You weren't built to settle. You weren't designed to plateau. You were made for more. And more doesn't come from sitting in your zone of familiarity. It comes from discomfort, from stepping into the unknown, from doing things that stretch you, challenge you, test you. Discomfort is the breeding ground of greatness. Every breakthrough you've ever had in your life came when you stepped out of comfort. When you faced resistance and didn't back down. When you faced fear and did it anyway. That's when you grew. That's when you evolved. You gotta stop aiming for easy. Easy is a lie. Easy makes you soft. The gym doesn't make you stronger because it's comfortable. It makes you stronger because it's painful. Because it demands something from you. Because it forces you to struggle. And that struggle, that's the process. That's the furnace where strength is forged. Not just physical, but mental strength, emotional strength, spiritual strength. That's what discomfort gives you, character. But comfort takes that away. It lulls you to sleep. It makes you forget the hunger that got you started. It dulls your edge. Comfort makes you stop preparing, stop grinding. Because comfort says, you've done enough. And if you listen to that voice for too long, you'll wake up one day wondering where your fire went, where your discipline went, where your progress went. You'll see people passing you by, not because they were more talented, but because they chose challenge while you chose ease. You have to learn to seek discomfort. To chase the difficult, you have to put yourself in rooms where you're not the smartest. You have to lift weights you've never lifted before, literally and metaphorically. You have to push past the point where most people quit. That's where the magic is. That's where the transformation happens. Success lives outside your comfort zone. Always has, always will. You know why most people never reach their full potential? Because they keep going back to what's familiar. They keep doing what's safe. But growth doesn't come from repeating the same actions. It comes from daring to be uncomfortable again and again. And not just once. Every day. Every single day, you should be doing something that makes you uneasy. Something that forces you to adapt. Something that forces you to level up. The most dangerous words you can say are, I'm good. Because when you say that, you stop looking for better. You stop trying to stretch. And that's when you start to decay. Comfort may feel good in the moment, but over time, it eats away at your drive. It erodes your urgency. It weakens your discipline. And before you know it, you're no longer in motion. You're stuck. You're stagnant. You were not put on this earth to just exist. You were built to chase your potential. You were built to impact, to create, to lead, to grow. And none of that lives in comfort. None of that comes easy. All of that requires sacrifice. It requires doing the things that scare you. It requires discipline when you're tired. It requires focus when you're distracted. It requires you to say no to comfort in yais, to challenge over and over again. The reason the rent for success is due every day, because comfort is always right outside your door, trying to sneak back in. It's always trying to convince you that you've earned the right to stop. But the minute you stop pushing, the minute you stop striving, is the minute you start slipping. Success is rented daily, and the payment is discomfort. So don't avoid hard. Embrace it. Don't run from the struggle. Run toward it. Don't protect your ego by staying where you're safe. Risk failure, risk rejection, risk everything if it means you grow. Because if you don't, you'll trade your potential for peace, your greatness for convenience, your legacy for laziness. And one day, you'll look back and realize the pain of staying the same was far greater than the pain of pushing forward. Get this in your head. Comfort is a liar. It promises peace, but it delivers regret. It promises rest, but it robs you of your edge. It promises safety, but it kills your drive. So get uncomfortable, stay uncomfortable. Make discomfort your lifestyle. That's how you win. That's how you grow. That's how you keep paying the rent for your success. Day after day, year after year, until your life becomes a reflection of everything you were willing to struggle for. Nobody cares what you did yesterday. That's a tough pill to swallow, but it's the truth. The world doesn't hand out permanent credit for past success. It doesn't keep score based on what you once accomplished. Yesterday's effort doesn't pay today's rent. You can't cash in old victories for a new future. The moment you start relying on what you've already done, you start falling behind. Too many people are living in the shadow of their former selves. They're still bragging about what they did last season, last year, last decade. still showing off old medals, still talking about their glory days. But life moves fast. It doesn't pause for you to reminisce. While you're busy looking back, someone else is outworking you. Someone else is hungry, grinding, building, and climbing. And if you're not still in motion, if you're not pushing forward, you will get past. Not because you weren't good, but because you stopped being great when you thought you were done. You have to understand something: success resets. Every single morning, your account goes back to zero. What you did yesterday is gone. It's history. The question is, what are you doing now? Are you still putting in the reps? Are you still preparing like you're broke? Still showing up like you've got something to prove? Or are you coasting on momentum that's already fading? Because here's the deal: if you're not feeding the fire, it dies. You can't keep the flame alive by staring at old sparks. You've got to stoke it every single day. That means effort. That means presence. That means being locked in right now in this moment. Not stuck in what you used to be, but focused on what you're becoming. The reason the rent for success is due every day is because comfort is always right outside your door, trying to sneak back in. It's always trying to convince you that you've earned the right to stop. But the minute you stop pushing, the minute you stop striving, is the minute you start slipping. Success is rented daily, and the payment is discomfort. So don't avoid hard. Embrace it. Don't run from the struggle. Run toward it. You don't protect your goal by staying where you're safe. Risk failure, risk rejection, risk everything if it means you grow. Because if you don't, you'll trade your potential for peace, your greatness for convenience, your legacy for laziness. And one day, you'll look back and realize the pain of staying the same was far greater than the pain of pushing forward. Get this in your head: comfort is a liar. It promises peace, but it delivers regret. It promises rest, but it robs you of your edge. It promises safety, but it kills your drive. So get uncomfortable. Stay uncomfortable. Make discomfort your lifestyle. That's how you win. That's how you grow. That's how you keep paying the rent for your success. Day after day, year after year, until your life becomes a reflection of everything you were willing to struggle for. Nobody cares what you did yesterday. That's a tough pill to swallow, but it's the truth. The world doesn't hand out permanent credit for past success. It doesn't keep score based on what you once accomplished. Yesterday's effort doesn't pay today's rent. You can't cash in old victories for a new future. The moment you start relying on what you've already done, you start falling behind. Too many people are living in the shadow of their former selves. They're still bragging about what they did last season, last year, last decade. Still showing off old medals. Still talking about their glory days. But life moves fast. It doesn't pause for you to reminisce. While you're busy looking back, someone else is outworking you. Someone else is hungry, grinding, and building, and climbing. If you're not still in motion, if you're not pushing forward, you will get past. Not because you weren't good, but because you stopped being great when you thought you were done. You have to understand something: success resets. Every single morning, your account goes back to zero. What you did yesterday is gone. It's history. The question is, what are you doing now? Are you still putting in the reps? Are you still preparing like you're broke? Still showing up like you've got something to prove? Or are you coasting on momentum that's already fading? Because here's the deal: if you're not feeding the fire, it dies. You can't keep the flame alive by staring at old sparks. You've got to stoke it every single day. That means effort. That means presence. That means being locked in right now, in this moment. Not stuck in what you used to be, but focused on what you're becoming. There's nothing wrong with being proud of your progress, but pride turns to poison when it becomes a crutch. When it becomes an excuse not to hustle. When it becomes your reason to slow down. Pride in your past should be fuel, not an anchor. Don't get caught up polishing your trophies while someone else is out earning theirs. Think about athletes who win championships and then disappear. Think about artists who drop one hit and vanish. Think about businesses that lead their industries, then get crushed because they got lazy, got soft, stopped innovating. Why? Because they thought they had arrived. They thought they were done. They believed yesterday's work would carry them forever. It never does. The marketplace doesn't reward yesterday's performance. It rewards today's execution. Your audience, your clients, your fans, your competitors, they're not asking, "What did you do?" They're asking, "What are you doing now? What's your next move? What are you building today? What's your next win? Your next discipline? Your next sacrifice?" The real killers, the real champions, they never dwell on the last win. They respect it. Then they move on. They wake up the next day and treat like they got everything to prove all over again. They act like they're still behind, still hungry, still climbing, because they understand that momentum dies the second you stop feeding it. The edge disappears the second you believe you've earned a break. You want to know who gets left behind? The people who treat yesterday's grind like it gives them a pass for today. The people who think the world owes them something because they used to work hard. It doesn't. The clock resets. The rent is due again and again and again. That's what separates the great from the average. Greatness isn't a single act. It's a mindset. It's a standard. It's a way of life. It's waking up every day and refusing to be outworked. Not just once, but forever. It's knowing that you're only as good as your last rep, your last decision, your last day of effort. And here's the truth. When you live like this, you never become complacent. You never sit still. You never stop chasing your potential, because the standard isn't what you did, it's what you're doing. The race isn't over. The mountain isn't climbed. The mission isn't complete, not until you take your last breath. Until then, there's work to do, and that work requires focus, hunger, humility, and relentless effort. So stop clinging to old victories. Stop hiding behind old effort. Stop thinking the world owes you anything for what you've done. It doesn't. All it sees is what you're doing now. And if you're not doing enough, if you're not pushing hard, if you're not growing, then someone else will take your place. Not because they're better, but because they kept going while you stood still. Today is the only day that matters. What you do now is the only thing that counts. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow isn't promised. So show up like it's your first day. Grind like you've never won anything. Fight like you've still got everything to prove, because you do. This world doesn't give you credit for being great once. It only respects those who are great every day. Discipline is the real currency of success, not talent, not motivation, not inspiration. Discipline. It's what separates the ones who dream from the ones who do. It's what builds empires in silence while the rest of the world is distracted. Because when the hype dies, when the motivation fades, and when nobody's cheering, You still have to show up. And the only thing that will make you do that is discipline. Discipline is waking up when your body says stay in bed. Discipline is hitting the gym when your mind says skip it. Discipline is sticking to the plan when emotions scream for escape. It's not glamorous. It's not sexy. It doesn't make headlines, but it builds greatness. One decision at a time, one repetition at a time, one hard choice at a time. You see, motivation is emotional. It's a burst of energy, a feeling that can be here one moment and gone the next. It's like a spark, powerful but temporary. But discipline is solid. Discipline is structure. It's a system that keeps you going when your feelings try to stop you. Motivation gets you started. Discipline finishes the race. Every champion you've ever admired wasn't just talented. They were disciplined. They did what needed to be done long after mood had passed. They worked when they didn't feel like it. They trained in the dark. They studied while others partied. They sacrificed comfort, distraction, and pleasure for one reason, because they had a standard. And that standard was non-negotiable. Discipline means your feelings don't get a vote. Discipline means your mood doesn't control your actions. Your mission does. The world is full of people with potential. But potential is worthless without discipline. There are 1,000 people more talented than you who will never win because they never committed. They never showed up consistently. They never locked in when it got hard. And the person with less talent but more discipline, that person will always win the long run. You have to understand, success is about doing the things you don't want to do. When you don't want to do them and doing them like your life depends on it, because it does. Discipline isn't just about work. It's about character. It's about integrity. It's about the promise you make to yourself and whether or not you keep it. Every time you say, I'm going to do this, and then you do it, even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient, you're building strength. You're building trust with yourself. You're building a mindset that can't be broken. Discipline isn't a feeling, it's a choice. And it's a choice you make every single day. You choose to train, you choose to study. You choose to stay focused. You choose to say no to distractions. You choose to pay the rent again and again. And over time, those small choices add up. They create results. They build a foundation that's unshakable. People look at discipline like it's punishment. It's not. It's freedom. Because when you're disciplined, you control your life. You don't react, you respond. You don't drift, you direct. You don't hope for success, you build it brick by brick. Discipline gives you power. Power over your habits, power over your time, power over your outcomes. Without discipline, everything falls apart. Goals stay goals. Dreams stay dreams. Plans stay plans. But with discipline, the impossible becomes possible. The unbelievable becomes real. Because every breakthrough you want, every level you haven't reached yet, is on the other side of disciplined effort. You don't need more motivation. You don't need to wait until you feel like it. You need to decide. You need to commit. You need to tell yourself, I will do what I said I would do. I will show up no matter what. I will execute even when it's hard. That's how you win. That's how you separate yourself from the crowd. Everyone wants the results, but few are willing to the life that produces them. They want the body, but not the workouts. They want the money, but not the grind. They want the impact, but not the isolation. They want the reward, but not the discipline. But life doesn't work like that. You only get what you're willing to suffer for. You only achieve what you're willing to stay consistent for. And if you're not willing to be disciplined, then you're not serious. You're just playing pretend. So stop talking about what you're going to do and start doing it. Stop waiting for the right mood and start building the right mindset. Stop chasing hype and start choosing habits. Because in the end, it's not the flashy moves that make you successful. It's the boring ones. The early wake-ups, the repeated reps, the lonely hours, the daily decisions that nobody sees, but everyone eventually notices. Discipline is the ultimate power. And the beautiful part, it's not a gift. It's not something you're born with. It's something you build. And every day you show up when it's hard. Every time you keep your word. Every moment you push through discomfort. You're getting stronger. You're becoming someone who can't be stopped. Someone who doesn't need motivation. Someone who doesn't need permission. Someone who is relentless. Because at the end of the day, that's what it takes to keep paying the rent. Success demands it. Life demands it. Greatness demands it. And you were born to rise to that demand. You were born to conquer. But only if you have the discipline to outlast your excuses and outwork your limitations. Let's bring it all together. Let's talk about what this really means. Not just in words, not just in theory, but in life, in your story, in your mission. You've heard the truth. Success is never owned. It's rented, and the rent is due every single day. Not some days, not when you feel good, not when life lines up perfectly. Every single day. This mindset, it's not for the weak. It's not for the ones looking for shortcuts. It's not for those who only work when it's convenient. This mindset is for billiards, for the relentless, for the people who understand that comfort is a lie, that yesterday doesn't count. That discipline is the bridge between goals and greatness. This is a way of life, not a motivational slogan. It's a code, a standard, a mission. You've got to be willing to show up every day as if nothing is guaranteed. Because it's not. Your place in the world, it's not guaranteed. Your spot in the race, not secure. Your dreams, still unpaid for. The rent isn't something you can automate. You can't set it on autopilot. You can't write one check and expect a lifetime return. You've got to grind, to hustle, to pour in everything you have, day after day, hour after hour, moment after moment. This is not about chasing success for the applause. It's not about proving people wrong. It's about proving something to yourself. That you are the kind of person who finishes what you start. That you don't quit when it's hard. That you rise every single time you fall. That you live by a higher standard. A standard built on hunger, discipline, consistency, and fire. You won't always feel like doing the work. Let's be honest. There will be days when you're tired, when the world feels heavy, when your excuses feel louder than your purpose. But on those days, that's when you separate yourself. That's when you make the decision that most people can't. You choose to show up anyway. You choose to pay the rent. You choose to rise. Not because it's easy, but because it's required. That's what it takes to build a life worth living. Not just success in the eyes of the world, but internal pride. The pride that comes from knowing you kept your word to yourself. That you didn't cheat the grind. That you didn't fake the effort. That you didn't settle when life tried to break you. The rent was due, and you paid it. You want to change your life. Then change your relationship with comfort. Walk away from it. declare war on it. Understand that nothing you want lives in ease. Everything you want lives in effort. Everything you want lives on the other side of resistance. And if you can learn to love the pain, to love the process, to love the grind, then there is nothing you can't build, nothing you can't become. Look around you. How many people gave up on their goals because it got hard? How many walked away because they didn't see results fast enough? How many settled for average because it was easier than being exceptional? Don't be one of them. Be the person who keeps going. Be the one who embraces the work, even when nobody's watching, even when nobody believes, even when the results are slow and the path is lonely. That's the rent. That's the price. That's the path. And let's get one thing clear. Paying the rent doesn't mean you'll see in success. You might show up every day for months or years before the breakthrough comes. But success isn't about immediate reward. It's about becoming someone who can carry the weight when the reward finally arrives. It's about building the kind of character, resilience, and fortitude that can handle the level you're praying to reach. Every day you train, you're building something. Every day you sacrifice, you're investing in something. Every day you choose discipline over distraction, discomfort over ease, grind over excuses. You're writing your legacy. You're sculpting your future. And that future will only come to life if you're willing to do the work no one sees, to walk the road few are willing to walk. There's no hack for this. There's no shortcut. But that's what makes it beautiful. That's what makes it rare. Because if it were easy, everyone would have it. If it were free, it wouldn't be worth anything. But the fact that it's hard, that it requires your sweat, your time, your focus, your life, that's what gives it value. That's what makes it real. So the next time you're tempted to slack off, to skip the workout, to break your promise, to coast through the day, remember the truth. Success doesn't care what you did yesterday. It only responds to what you do now. And the question is simple. Will you pay the rent today? If the answer is yes, if you wake up every day with the fire to keep pushing, to keep growing, to keep grinding, then you've already won. Because most people quit long before the reward comes. But not you. You're built different. You understand the process. You respect the price. You're willing to sacrifice now for what you know will be worth it later. You've got something inside of you, a hunger, a flame, a purpose, and that purpose is louder than your excuses. That flame burns hotter than your fear. That hunger is deeper than your pain. And if you keep feeding it, keep showing up, keep fighting, keep paying the rent, then there is no force on this planet that can stop you. Success is never owned. It's rented. And rent is due every damn day. Now ask yourself, right here, right now, are you ready to pay it? Because if you are, then there's nothing left to say. Just show up and do the work. Every single day.